No. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go that far back for him. I put on some Black Thought, and immediately he started listening to it. He was like, "Damn, what is this? This shit is hard. Oh my god!"
Okay, here's a question though: Did you make the connection for him when it comes to modern media? Did you take it that far?
That was after he listened to it. I just gave him a taste because I don't want his head to explode.
So here's the thing with that one. You got Black Thought, right? You said Black Thought, right?
Right.
So we know he is the lead MC for The Roots.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And this is an issue I had, but I understand why they did it. But listen, so Black Thought's The Roots. The Roots are the house band for The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon.
Right.
Where on that show, they go with his government name, Tyreek.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So to me, I'd be like, yo, this dude is the MC for The Tonight Show.
Right.
Like, you understand? Like, this dude has a permanent gig till either he quits or he dies on fucking network television. Like,
you and I know he is the most underrated MC.
You know what? I don't know if he's all right. I'll put him in my top 5 underrated, but I don't know if he can. Him and Mos Def, if they were in the same room, I don't know what to do with myself. Like, the two of them make this shit seem so easy.
You enjoy the collaboration. That's what you do.
Yo, like, the two of them in the same room making shit look so damn easy. I don't know what to do with myself. And that's the thing. Like, that's the thing though. You showed him Black Thought. He don't even know the full context of Tyreek and what he does.
Right.
And it's cool knowing that, but like
at the time, the context was not about trying to show who Black Thought was. The context at the time was about showing this young guy what hip hop was. You know?
And you know what?
And he was like, "Are there other artists on this level?" I was like, "Oh yeah."
My god! I had a whole. I was doing a writing session with some artists that were Zoomers. And we were discussing the direction of a song, and it was like 2 months ago. And I was like, hey, look, like, where are the artists now that tell a full story? Where are the storytellers? Where are the storyteller art? And, like, they tried to present what they thought were storytellers. I'm like, no, I'm talking about the artists that take an entire 4-minute song and tell an entire fucking story. Right. And they make the shit rhyme, and the shit was deep, and it was awesome. They couldn't come with nobody. They couldn't come up with it. I'm like, I was frustrated.
You're not going to find that in the mainstream. You know why? Because
where is that?
Intelligent artistry doesn't make money like it used to, because
it doesn't.
The focus of the mainstream.
It doesn't.
Mainstream is social engineering.
Unless you can find, and there's not many people who can find that balance of the two. Like Jay-Z can do a trap song and have it still be conscious. Kendrick Lamar has that skill, but very few people, and those are actually my favorite hip hop artists that can do that. But very few artists got that in them where they can perfectly mesh the two. Outkast.
Right. And that's why
a lot of people don't know about
like Anderson .Paak. I love Anderson .Paak. He does that. Anderson .Paak is new. And it's a point where, Dr. Dre technically brought him to the mainframe, to the main front, but, like, he can do that. And he just released some new shit with Busta, and he's young, he's doing it. And Sherelle, you're right. There's not enough of that, and I'm irked. I am like peeved about this situation.
I like Big Sean a lot. He's a newer artist. He doesn't write his raps down.
I like Big Sean.
Yeah, I like
Big Sean is diverse because he'll do some deep shit, but he'll do some shit that's like for the club. Like it's both.
Right.
That's why I like Big Sean.
If you can find that balance.
Talk about a artist that's stuck in the past and can't figure out how to adapt to what's happening.
Nelly.
You said Nelly? I said
Cassidy.
Who did you say, Shane?
I said Cassidy. He's
all right. Well, yeah, of course not. Cassidy.
See, Cassidy has skills, but he's subjecting himself to modern battle rap, and it's not working out for him.
Because he grew up when long pink tees were a thing for a second. No, he's not Cassidy's not going to. All right, that's like trying to ask Young MC or fucking what's his name?
I don't think 50 Cent could.
50 Cent can. But all right. So there comes a point in time in music where you definitely need to accept your position in it. And there are artists who can, who can't. And there are some people who can transcend. Mm-hmm. That's the hardest part. Like Cher, example, she had #1 hits in 4 different decades.
And that's an accomplishment.
Exactly. That is extremely rare. That is hard to do. And that actually, like, the reason why she had the right beat it. She lent her voice to a producer's idea. The producer of that decade made it happen, and she, as an artist, as a singer, lent her voice to it. But normally, an artist, musician, they're kind of that decade, of that time. And you eventually have to accept that music isn't forever. You are not going to be forever on top. And I think that there are extremely amount of musicians who do not understand that
it happened a little.
Your time is limited when it comes to music.
Well, in addition to that, though, you have to be willing to reinvent yourself a number of times. And if you're not willing to do that, then it really, like, you got somebody like Missy Elliott, she kept reinventing herself over and over and over.
She did.
Jay-Z kept reinventing himself over and over. The ones that last a long time, they've reinvented themselves in one way or another.
Mm-hmm. They have
Beyonce. She hasn't been here that long, but she kept reinventing herself.
Beyonce is past 20 years in music. That you are a senior citizen in music by then.
Yeah, I mean a lot of people that stay iconic learn to know when to transition into something else. Like Babyface, I'll give you that example. We know him as an excellent R&B singer of all kinds of smooth R&B. After a while, he got out of the limelight and went to behind the scenes, and he remained infamous, or not infamous, but you know what I mean?
I got what you mean, but I remember the moment.
I do think that if you leave the scenes, you can be infamous. Certain ones who were really like a baby face, those who were like really like legends. I think if you stay out of the scenes, that mystery, you know, you can hold on to that. But if you want to stay in the scenes, if you want to stay in the scenes,
visible,
you got to be versatile. You got to be willing to change your brand. You got to be willing to switch.
So here's the issue though. So Sherelle's right on that. If you're willing to step back and just, write songs, lyrics, cool. Yeah. Because I remember the moment where Babyface became too old.
And
I
didn't even notice.
Yeah, all right. He went through a phase of that.
Do you remember, Shane? Do you remember the moment where Babyface grew like a little short beard? It was early 2000s. He grew a short beard.
Yeah, I didn't know because I wasn't paying attention.
He had a video, right? And I was laughing. And I was like, because I grew up like, my dad played it. I listened to it plenty of Babyface. We're talking about Tony Rich Project, Babyface, and he become Kenneth Edmonds. Like, I would play his songs for my piano recitals when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Like, cool. I'm trying to remember the video he had, but he was up there, he was clapping with one hand, like, with the one hand up. And he was doing this. And that was the moment he had a beard. He Babyface with a beard. And became too old for the scene. He was trying to keep up with the Jaheems. Remember Jaheim?
Oh, man.
Yeah. It was at the same time, like when Beard started, and he was trying to keep with Jaheim. And it was like, it doesn't work for you no more. You're done.
Right. I mean, his name is Babyface. He ain't got no business wearing facial hair.
You're right, but he was trying to, change it up. His whole thing was changing it up. Right. He did this. And it was like, you're done.
Yeah, that time comes from every artist. Remember when Maxwell, you all know Maxwell?
Of course I know Maxwell. Woman's Worth. Every woman who's over the age of 25 knows Woman's Worth, Maxwell.
So, let me finish. When he stepped away, right? He came back, he did A Woman's Worth, and then he stepped away again, and he came back and tried to make some other songs. For us, we think the songs were still good because he got a golden voice.
He does.
For the time, it wasn't making a connection with people.
Of course not.
Because and that's a huge pill to swallow.
The society,
it is.
There's not that much romance happening anymore, not like it used to be. Well, we're in that generation where everybody's texting and no one's looking directly at each other.
Right.
So the idea of romance and slow jams and stuff, that's like a faded memory now.
It's a super faded memory. It's a super faded thing. All right. So a few years ago, I was DJing a prom event, right? And they gave me a list, and it was a bunch of mumble rap and trap stuff. And I was conflicted because the administration who was paying me was like clean music, and the kids were like trap, and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, if I play this, it's gonna be instrumental because I can't play none of this shit. But I did it, and they're sitting around, and they're on I'm watching the crowd because as a DJ, I'm watching the crowd, see what's going on, so I can play off of them. I already had my list. My list was like 70, 80 songs. Like I know, like this is what they requested. 3 weeks I've been asking what they wanted to hear. I played this music that they wanted. I mixed it, put it together, make sure it was great. And I didn't have the response I'm used to getting. The response I'm used to getting is if you like it, you dance. If you don't, you don't dance.
But nobody dances anymore, so
they don't. They didn't do shit. They were there. They're on their phones. The guys are in a group talking to them, and the girls in the group talking to themselves. And every once in a while they would interact, but there wasn't a whole bunch of dancing. And then at the end of it, they were like, "Oh man, you were great." I'm like,
rap to each other.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking
about? In today's world, a DJ is only there for ambiance.
I was so confused, but I was like, "You mean I was great? I was out there stressing out because y'all weren't doing shit." And you're like,
we were the last group to really be dancing
Yeah.
at the club.
No,
Like,
for
I'm so
real?
glad to have been a part of
Yo,
that.
$10, $15.
slow dancing is done. The whole like, hey yo, it's the last song of the night. Grab your girl. Like that phrase, that thought process
Yeah,
is gone.
it's gone.
There's no more of the if this will remind from the wood
You live in a
that
world of hookup culture.
Yeah, like even like
I haven't been on a date in probably a decade just for that reason.
yeah.
Because
I was watching Moesha.
oh,
I went back watching that on Netflix, and I have a lot of thoughts on that. But anyway, one thing on there is they were actually going on dates.
Mm-hmm.
Dudes were like literally inviting them to go on dates, and that does not happen anymore. Hardly. It happens. I'm being, but
I mean, there's some guys that try, but oftentimes it just ends up in just like a bunch of texting,
yeah.
And I can only speak from my own experience, but it's like the times that I would try to get to know someone, it's like they want me to sweep them off their feet through a text before any actual interaction even begins. You know what I mean? It's like, what could I possibly say in the text that will motivate somebody to actually pick up the phone and talk?
It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
It's a different world. It really is.
Yeah, it is. It is.
No, it's like nobody wants to actually communicate. Remember way back, I'm about to take it back in the day. When
all 8 tracks.
Well, I don't know if I'm gonna go as far back as 8 tracks. I'll take it as far back as like if you thought somebody was cool, if you had no game, that was okay. All you had to do was just literally write on a napkin or a piece of paper, "Do you like me?" And that was an icebreaker.
All right, so I remember that time, and what sucked was when girls started to write their own boxing.
What?
All right, so
maybe I'm not sure.
Yeah, right. So Shane, though, because Shane is a little bit older than us. Okay, he's a little bit older than us. He's like 3-4 years older than us.
Yeah, I remember when if you wanted to call somebody, you actually had to know their phone number.
Yeah, know it. And then I was just talking about this about 2-3 weeks ago on the podcast about the new generation will never understand calling a girl's house and having to talk to their parents.
Oh yeah.
The whole thing, the whole process. You had a whole game plan. Like the parents answer the phone, you had to know what to say and do to get to the girl.
See, I've always had weird experience with that because I've always had it every single time where the parents just loved me, but the girl wasn't feeling me.
See, well, the parents and the girl like
the girls wasn't feeling you because the parents loved you.
No, see, I know how to play
that ain't
both.
Even a you problem.
I know how to see. I get what she's saying. Like parents, I know how to play both ends. I had to play the dad had to like me. I had ambitions for life. And the dad liked me. He's like, all right, cool. And then I get to the
parents was trying to hook me up with their daughter, and I'm like, good grief.
I remember my old boss was trying to hook me up with her son. And I'm like,
wow.
This is incredibly flattering because people don't. And this lady, I love her dearly, but she is a no nonsense tough cookie. So for her to even consider it was a big deal. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But that means you were safe.
I don't know how to take what you just said.
You don't have to worry about losing your job.
Wait, hold on. Here's how you take it. At our age now, that's a compliment. When you were like 20, that wasn't. Yeah, you were safe. There's a mom looking for someone for her son. So she's looking for someone who'll be good, and protecting and supportive.
Yeah,
And
like that's a big, huge compliment. That's a big deal, really.
yes, at our age now in the 30s, yes, it is. When you were 19, you was the safe one.
Man, yeah, I've had it to where, I mean, looking back, I don't know. I had real conservative values when I was younger. Because I remember one time when I was 22, I knew this girl. She was I think she was like 18, 19, just fresh out of high school, right? I'm already established doing my thing in life. And her father was like literally gave me his blessing even before he got out of high school. Like yeah, I could see you being my son-in-law, and it's like at the time the girl, she did like me, but I kind of felt some kind of way because I felt like I was robbing the cradle. But looking in hindsight, it's like being much older now. It's like somebody 5 years younger than you is not that big of a deal.
So okay.
Yeah. That changes once you get older.
To like high school age, it feels a little weird.
Yeah.
Of course it feels weird.
It is weird back
you're
then.
just starting life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
you're really at different stages developmentally. Like you're really at a different stage. But then, you know, you reach our ages and it's like, oh, 5 years, that ain't it.
Right.
So here's a question for y'all, okay? Because I saw a meme to me that connected. It connected with me. I'm like, oh, that's stages in life. Mm-hmm. How well do either of y'all know the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen it.
A few times.
Okay, so Shane's going to get this, Sherelle's not. The meme was about the fact that in your stages in life, you have the stage where you connect with Ferris, where you understand that and that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Then you connect with Cameron, and then you connect with Rooney. Like, you have those stages where you like, where that becomes you, like, you connect and understand those characters as you grow older.
I mean, the stage in my life now is like, I kind of look at Ferris Bueller's Day Off as a time of innocence, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, come on, think about this, man.
Well,
he goes in there,
when I was a kid,
he takes his friend's Ferrari.
I looked at it as fear and consequences, you know what I mean?
Right. So you're at the Cameron stage, you're right before the Rooney stage.
Right.
Like, I right now, I fully understand Cameron all the way. As a kid, you're like, yeah, like, Ferris Bueller, like, yeah, let's go hard at it. Let's do it.
Right.
And then as we get older, we all Rooney shit, like, why aren't you in school? Why?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a whole different thing.
When I think of that movie, the one thing that stands out in my mind is that scene where he put that car up on Jack's trying to turn back the odometer.
Yeah, right. So
only wait. Miles to get higher.
Right. When you're 15, you're like, that might work. And then like you're adult, like, that shit don't work.
That is not how you turn back an odometer.
It is not.
Putting it in reverse and letting it run.
But hold on, wait. Do you not get respect? Do you not get respect when you're like, hey, we want to crack it open and roll it back by hand? You're like, damn, this teenager knows a little bit of something about something. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, that's the only way to do that shit. Like, you can't just roll an odometer back by hand. But still, like, those are the three stages that we go through. Like, there's going to be Bueller, then Cameron, and then Principal Rooney. And that was like, I relate to this. I relate to this because I'm definitely at the Cameron stage of shit. So, I don't know, man. I'm trying to do for my friends, you, Sherelle, and you, Shane, is I'm trying to postpone the mentality of getting old. And I'm trying to do that by showing that the trends are exactly the same.
You're gonna be on Facebook holding up like the West Side sign.
No,
Like
the trends, I'll say this time and time again. From the 1920s to the 1980s, the trends had a slow progression and regression. And then when it came to 2010 on, it fell off a cliff. That's totally different.
That's like an old man saying, listen, it did not. Every single generation, especially starting with the atomic age, we're talking about the 50s, the early 50s, from 1953, it did not. It was rock and roll is the devil, and the teenagers are crazy, and reefer is horrible. Reefer, there was a whole PSAs, public service announcements, about reefer in the 50s that targeted Hispanics and blacks and people. It was hard. So it's nothing new. That's what I'm trying to tell people. Like, there's nothing new about this at all. Rock and roll. Hey, we're talking about even in the 20s and 30s. We're talking about jazz music and liquor. That was the devil. That was horrible. Like, there's a whole musical run. Chicago is all about that. Oh man, like you listen to jazz music and words like hip. The word hip was bad at some point. In the 20s and 30s, especially the 40s, the word hip or hep was like a new word.
Beatniks. Oh, okay.
Right. Beatniks, they smoke reefer and they listen to that horrible demonic jazz music, and they're like, it was so fucked up. So, all right, here's the best. You know what? I'm trying to think about this. Remember this? All right, I don't know if Sherelle knows this.
No, I get what you're saying, but what I'm saying is different.
It's not. Who's the Prince of Darkness? Who's the Prince of Darkness? Who is titled as the Prince of Darkness?
The title of the Prince of Darkness?
Yes. You're old enough. Who is it, Shane?
What, Lucifer?
No, not that old. Ozzy Osbourne was the rock and roll Prince of Darkness.
Okay. All right. I'll tell you why I didn't get that right. There's this, it's context. And that's why I'm saying that what I'm saying and what you're saying is different. You're not wrong, but I'm talking within a different context.
What context are you talking in? It's not that, because like that was a big thing. But now he's considered classic rock.
Well, like, I don't know that because I don't follow him, so I wouldn't know that.
I got you, but now Metallica, Megadeth, and Ozzy Osbourne, and they're considered classic rock, and almost to the level of soft rock. The things that were considered the evil of the world at the time that was corrupting the youth.
I totally with what you're saying. All I'm saying is what I'm saying is it's a different context. I'm talking about intellect and substance. And I'll give you an example, right? You and I know who Martin Luther King are, right?
Yeah.
We've known about Martin Luther King since we were in grade school because it was taught to us, right?
It was.
My kids didn't know who Martin Luther King was until, like, I think 2 years ago. Because, yeah.
I got you. And I like, to me, it is a travesty. To me it is.
Taught that stuff in school, and I'm like, oh, so they're really omitting a lot of different things.
They are. That's always been the case. What I'm trying to say is,
like,
what was
Common Core math and math that we grew up with.
Yeah, Common Core math is some bullshit. On the math level, I agree with you all the way. Contextual math.
Mm-hmm. Reading has gotten just as dumb too.
It has, but
they've done it on purpose.
Of course, they done it on purpose, because some company was able to sell the government on our ways to Beth. Like, it's horrible. But this is where I'm trying to be at with this. Okay. and hopefully I try to, I express it correctly. The stuff that we learned, and this is, all right, part of this is the reason why that the millennials in general, but the senior millennials are a little bit special in this regard, because we were at the cusp of the change of the accepted history and information moving over to the new thing, because we were technology, history, because before us, Columbus Day is what it is what it was. Columbus discovered America, 1492. Columbus sailed the ocean blue, the Nina, the Pinta, and Santa Maria.
Yeah.
You tell somebody 20 years younger than us about the Nina and the Pinta, they were like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
Right. Cool. But we do both. Our generation is on the cusp of both.
Right.
Both parts of this.
We understand both sides.
Right. With technology, too. Like, we know this. Shane, I know you know how to use a rotary phone. You also know how to use a smartphone. And we know that, I know that my parents don't know shit about smartphones, and my kids don't know shit about rotary phones.
Right.
We're on that. That's what makes us different as a generation. And the same thing has been happening with everything, whether it's music and culture and government and policies. Right. We know what it means. Me and you grew up
generation, because just like you got the boomers, they
the boomers
mindset of
and then Generation Z, not Z, X, Generation X, who were teenagers in like the 80s.
Right.
They were 18, 19 in the 80s. That Generation X, and then we came along, and shit changed, and then there was Generation Z, the Zoomers, and then Generation Alpha, which is our boys, Bishop and the twins. That's how that worked out.
Right, and this newest generation, they're going to grow up in a world where they're just going to accept all information that's fed to them without question.
Yeah, kind of. Like,
because the difference is, like, with the boomers, they were in a generation where they questioned everything, and critical thought and scrutinizing was really important. Generation X was more on the information side of things, so it's like question stuff, but at the same time gravitate towards the advanced society. And then you got
yes and no.
That are
we're more than that. So the boomer, so here's I agree and disagree. So here's the issue with that boomer though.
Okay.
The baby boomers, which were like 1945 to the early 60s, they were born. They grew up in the atomic age, which is right after World War II. Okay? New technologies come out. We're talking about the microwave was invented, TV dinners, television, radio was huge. It didn't start with them, but radio reached its golden age and prime during that time. Of course they're going to challenge their parents, because their parents had none of that.
Right.
They were born into that. All right? They're kind of like the Zoomers. Generation Z was born into internet, social media. They had all that. So they had no idea what it was like before that.
Yeah.
And so, right, the baby boomers, our parents, they were born into that. They, mass communication and rock and roll. This is the time, we're talking about the time where the electric guitar and the amplifier was invented. Where Les Paul was a person who performed, and that was a thing. Like, he made a guitar, which became, of course, legendary, but electric guitar and like, this is a completely new shit with the electrode, and it's new shit. And that's what our parents did. Cool. And that was a thing. the next big industrial change was us, because you had, if you think about it, we had the Industrial Revolution, which was the early 1900s, which was, Carnegie and Vanderbilt and Ford and um, Frick and J.P. Morgan, and like all that stuff was like early 1900s. We're talking about like Titanic time, early as fuck. And then the next big, huge eruption was the atomic age, which was the 50s.
The
Right
generation
after the atomic bomb. And then the next big one was us. Where we had the Silicon Valley, we had the microchip, we had all the stuff we were born into. You can't count the 80s, like the yuppies in the 80s, the people of Generation X. They caught it on the tail end, but for us, we grew up with having both the cassette tape and the CD and the MP3. We had the rotary phone with the car phone and brick phone to the smart screen. And like, we're in that cusp of time.
Right.
Yeah, so you get that. Like, we can do both things. We know how to write a check. We know how to use Cash App. We know how to, use a pencil on a cassette tape. We know how to pirate music, MP3s, stream. Like, we're comfortable with them both.
Right. The sad part is the last generation won't know where anything came from because they won't even have the will to even care.
They won't. But what I'm saying is this: do you have the will to care what technology was in 1890? No.
Yeah, I mean that's.
All right. Here's a question: do you know how to? If you had to install a ribbon in a typewriter without looking at YouTube or the internet, could you do it?
Yeah, because I had to do it when I did my homework in high school.
Okay, only because we have parents who did it and taught us. I know how to do it. Wait. How'd you learn
that would
if it wasn't from your grandparents or parents?
They didn't know how to do it. They just told you to do it and expect you to figure it out.
How to put a ribbon in a typewriter? Not one of those printers, but a typewriter.
Yeah.
See, I did that like 3 times in my lifetime.
Yeah, dude, man. The way my parents raised me, they just told me to do stuff and expected me to do it. And then whether I knew what I was doing or not, there was punishment that followed. That was old.
That's something that changed.
That's old school black parents right there.
Hey, Sherelle, there's a question. What's an old skill set that you have that the next generation will never have to utilize?
Well, you already mentioned the typewriter thing, and I remember writing on typing on a typewriter as a kid. So that is definitely a thing. I'm not sure.
They be typing high as fuck though. They're like, when you type on a typewriter, I feel like your hands gotta go like up.
Cursive. Cursive is one.
Yeah.
And I hate the idea, and we talked about this before, but I hate the idea that there's a whole language or a way of writing that children will not be able to read. And I think that that's strategic. I think that is very strategic. So, if we keep these things to where they can't read it, then, certain documentation, whatever, they won't be able to decipher.
The art of picking up a writing utensil, period, is slowly disappearing.
You ain't lying.
It is.
If you see how some of these kids write, some of them really cannot write or cannot spell.
It's going to become obsolete.
It's scary.
Yeah, that's why I was making within the context that as the generation goes on, it's literally getting dumber. Like the older generation knew
literally
stuff. They literally knew that stuff was.
Hey Shane, here's a question: Do you know Latin?
Brandon, you ain't let him.
All right, I'll stop. Go ahead, go ahead, Shane.
See, the older generation knew that stuff was changing, but not for the better. but we are alive to see how bad it actually got. And the thing about social engineering that a lot of people don't know because they don't take the time to learn about what social engineering is, it's just a slow process. So the majority of people don't notice the changes happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's why I'm saying that in a lot of things, not just music, but entertainment and a lot of other stuff, all that substance that used to be there in older generations has purposely been removed to condition the masses to be morons.
Yeah.
And off of nothing but pure emotion.
Yeah.
Emotion
I
is the thing
totally
that
agree
rules
with
everything.
I don't know if I agree with that because, hey, Shane, do you know what, you know how to speak Latin?
Do I know how to speak Latin?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
That was a common language, and now it's considered a dead language. You moved on from it. The progress, but all right, what I don't want to get stuck on is saying that progress is
You
making us dumber.
advancement of technology, but a reduction in individual intellect.
Yeah.
Think about the culture of cyberpunk. That
All right.
is all about that. I mean, how the genre of cyberpunk is all about high technology, but low moral value and fiber.
So do you sacrifice one for the other though?
Huh?
Do you sacrifice one for the other?
Well, you don't have a choice when the society is going that way.
And that's the part I was trying to make mention of in one of our past episodes. Like, they're coming out with so much new stuff that if you don't even have a choice in the matter, if you don't want this new thing to come out, if you don't like it, like me, I hate that these kids aren't learning cursive.
Mm-hmm.
Hate it. I think it's stupid. But they didn't ask us what we thought about that. They didn't come in. They're not asking any of the older generation, hey, do you want a computer? Do you want to have to use?
Why would they ask us? What would be the
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I don't like is these new things are constantly being forced on people all the time. You don't even get a choice in the matter of whether you want to use this or whether you don't, whether you like this new change, whether you don't. It's just,
hey, Sherelle, question. Do you like having a microwave?
I enjoy a microwave.
All right, but see, you understand there's a point in time where that was a forced technology, right?
I'm not saying that all forced technology is bad. I'm saying that there are now certain things that are coming out you don't even get to be like, hey,
no, you don't.
This one's
That's
cool.
the condition that I'm talking about. Like, there's a trend that happens, and I'm trying. All right, and I know it's like a fruitless effort. I'm trying to keep our generation up on this. And the same the same thing happened when Shane made a post about like I don't get this TikTok thing. And I'm like, yo, you're sounding old.
Against it. I was
just but Brandon, we don't have to like it.
I got you. You don't have to like it.
We don't have to like it. We don't have to enjoy it. We don't have to participate in certain things.
I understand this, but like I told Shane, you're sounding old. And his response was, I'm getting old. And I was like, And like the reason I got frustrated was this.
Uh-huh.
You're the way in my mind, what you're saying when you're like, all right, I want you to understand that I understand the sentiment of not knowing cursive. To me, it doesn't logically make total sense. Mm-hmm. Like I'm thinking, like, all right, how do you sign for something you don't know cursive? Like you're back to like slave times and making an X. You don't know what the fuck to do. Right. But we're at a point in time where eventually there won't be any physically signed anything. They're going to have digital signatures that aren't anything related to that.
Right.
And
there's an underlying skill. There's an underlying skill to writing in general. If you look at throughout history.
We're beyond that now.
Yeah, but we don't have to like being beyond that. That's the part.
Okay, so all right. So here's a question: have either of you ever gotten frustrated would someone of our baby boomer age or the greater generation for not embracing how things are now? Have you ever gotten frustrated ever?
No. Because I mean, the way I think, if someone's trying to tell me something that I don't understand, I've never been the person. I've never been the type of person to be dismissive. I want to try to understand what they're saying to see where the logic is, and then if I find no logic, I test stuff. If there's no logic and they're irrational, that's different.
All right. So you're telling me neither one of y'all have ever listened to an old person and said, "Hey, look, that doesn't make sense anymore because we moved beyond that"?
No. I've always tested what they had to say.
An old person, then it's like, okay, whatever. But like people, I don't know. That doesn't really bother me on the level that it seems to be bothering you.
It does, because I'm trying to help y'all avoid. I'm trying to help people my age avoid that. I'm trying hard.
But they might not want to avoid that. They might be comfortable where they are.
They say that now, but then all right, so.
You gotta let people be where they are. Like, I'm not cool with this, with the robots taking over every single thing. The stupid machine that was at at McDonald's that's replacing these kids having a real job and learning how to communicate. I don't like that. I don't.
You sound like my mom.
I don't know how I feel about cars driving on their own. I'm kind of scared of that. I don't like the idea of it.
Oh my God, you do understand that that's already happened, right? Like,
who cares?
So this is what I'm like.
But just because it happened, don't mean I like it.
You know who George Orwell is? You know who George Orwell is?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you know the quote, "He who controls the past controls the future"?
Yes.
Okay, so what does that mean to you?
To me, that is the understanding that the history repeats itself. The people who understand the past will understand what's going to happen in the future. And that's my frustration with this.
No, not understands the past, controls the past.
I understand control, all right. But it's not just understanding it. Yeah, you're right. It isn't controlling it. My frustration with this is a repetition situation. Mm-hmm. So the things that we accept as normal now has already happened in the same context that, you're saying, oh man, you know what?
Right. You're right.
Like having your own bagger at the grocery store, like that's taking a job. Like that's already happened previously that we're okay with now. So if you're going to be okay with it now, then you shouldn't be okay with it before. But if you're okay with it being now, then you should be okay with it going forward.
That's a real black and white.
You gotta look at it deeper than that. All right, based on what you said. Let's go with that.
Let's roll with that. Let's roll with that. So she's talking about,
I can pick and choose what I like and what I don't, and what I want to use and what I don't want to use, and what I
got you.
What I don't think is necessary.
Here's a question. So for you, when the Koreans and the Japanese decided to put more automated systems in the production of cars in the 70s, do you feel just as passionate about that as when Henry Ford decided to do the assembly line and Industrial Revolution, as you do with replacing jobs at the grocery store with the self-checkout lines?
Well, here's the question that you
hold on, Shane, stop. I'm asking Sherelle.
But you asking me this question. I keep telling you, I feel differently about different things. I don't feel the same about every single thing from the past.
So my question is, what's the difference?
I don't look at it. I look at it as a gray area. I don't look at it as this black and white thing.
So fine. So in the gray area, you tell me the difference between those three things that happen in America. And it's just this one country, not worldwide, not dealing with outsourcing the production to other countries. Just here, for you, how do you feel about those three things?
Right now, today, I don't care about it. Now, if we talk about some new things that's going on right now, it might
I presented three different things. I talked about the Industrial Revolution, then the production in the 70s.
I feel differently about different things, and it's certain things I feel are necessary, and some things I don't.
What's the difference?
And then that could change later on if I see this was a good idea. People change.
I got you. But I'm asking you right now, in your opinion today, this hour, this minute, what is the difference between the production in the Industrial Revolution, the change in the outsourcing in the 70s, and right now in 2020 with us and the let's call it the occupational hazard of outsourcing in 2020, which is part of the election issue. I'm asking you right now, what's the difference?
For me, it just depends. When you get specific in one or two, it just depends. That's where I'm leaving it at. For me, it just depends.
Can I answer the question?
All right, so we're on there. Shane, answer the question.
Okay. The first thing, and based on directly related to all this information, is why did those things happen? That's the first thing. The second thing is how are all those things correlated? And what? You look like you want to say something, Brandon.
Me? I look like I want to. All right, so we all know.
You waiting on me?
No, Shane, what's the biggest cost to every company?
The biggest cost?
Yep.
It's the people, because they're the primary.
Right. You are correct. The change in automation from the Industrial Revolution to the 70s and outsourcing, whatever, and even prior to that, as we know, was slavery, which is why it was a thing until the cotton gin. Shit. Anyways, was all about people. Labor is the biggest cost to every company. We know that. Not materials, it's not distribution, it's not marketing. Labor is the biggest cost to every single company.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
And that's the number one thing they're trying to cut costs on without causing too much of a riffraff, a problem that causes, strikes and all that stuff. Which way you have unions? We have, they have rules against that. Like, that's the biggest thing, and that's what I'm discussing with y'all.
Right.
Because now technology has shifted the necessity for human labor when it comes to producing products and services for people.
Now, what is the direct result of doing that?
So the direct result is there's less specific jobs that require a particular skill set.
And on a mass scale, what's the result of that?
All right, so on the mass scale, what it normally results in is that the business economy requires a different set of skill set than what the education is putting out. Education normally is behind schedule.
Now, I'll make it easier for you. What
Go ahead.
In that is job loss and poverty. And that
right. That's only because it doesn't meet the, I'm telling you, it doesn't meet the demand. It doesn't meet the demand. education, the education industry with colleges doesn't meet the demand of the economic requirements
Now I'm gonna tie
of
this
the company.
together, right?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm gonna bring all this full circle, but you gotta let me finish.
I won't say nothing.
Okay, so if automation takes off and you have all these systems and services that require less and less people to be involved, right? So now you have people in this country that can't even afford to get the products and services that are in this country because nobody has any jobs. Now, there are people from the previous generation that had understood this and they were trying to teach the younger generation, but no, let me finish. But what was slowly happening is through the entertainment and the educational system, it has been dumbing down the general populace to slowly become docile and accept the way things are going. So when the older generation dies off and our generation dies off, and then the generation right after ours dies off, now you have a population of people that have been conditioned to be dependent on this automated society that has gone cashless.
What he said.
All right, listen. So there's
That's
nothing
answering the question.
That's nothing. But that's nothing different than what's happened so far. Like, it's something different
over the past 100 years.
Yes, it has.
And just to bring in the writing thing, because I wanted to finish making this point before. In some countries, they're actually outright outlawing writing because it has a direct tie to physical combat and the ability to defend oneself. Like writing is an extension of swordplay. They're already taking guns out of circulation in many countries. So, like, if 9 times out of 10, anybody that can do calligraphy or write in cursive has the ability to wield a weapon with precision. But
yeah, I will so do work for these countries.
There's some spiritual connections in writing as well, like law of attraction, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the youngest generation doesn't even care to know.
Yeah, cursive is sexy.
Any of these things because it's an instant gratification society. No one wants to
care.
learn
they don't
or
know
take
how to
the time to understand anything. They just want stuff instantly, right now. You know, and you know that's part of the reason why I don't date, because it's like the people I meet, it's like they want a microwave relationship just like that, and it's like if I don't like break them off a whole bunch of money instantly, they lose interest real fast.
Well, so, yeah.
It's social engineering. It's been happening for the past 100 years. I mean, if you think about
it, the atomic age changed everything. Are y'all not keeping up?
Yeah, and they won't even know. They won't even have a clue of what's happening.
Well, that's on them.
They're no longer being led to.
So that's the issue. I have a big issue with that.
Every way, shape, and form with the technology.
I don't have an issue with